Of today's Kentucky Enquirer. Up at the top of the page there you see, "My fault," Senator Paul says of plagiarism. This was the front page of today's Lexington Herald-Leader newspaper. Paul to retool office after plagiarism charges. He's hopeful, quote, "It will make people leave me the hell alone." This was the front page of the Courier-Journal in Louisville, Kentucky. Paul admits his plagiarism, quote, "is my fault." And that front page story on the front page of the Courier-Journal, that was nothing compared to what the paper had to say inside on the editorial page. Today, the Courier-Journal published this scathing editorial. "Recent news accounts make it clear that Senator Paul has made a habit out of using without attribution other people's words, thoughts, and ideas. His reaction so far has not been to plead guilty and beg forgiveness. That's not his style. He's instead claimed to be the victim of a witch hunt by hacks and haters. He says he takes it as an insult that people would accuse him of being dishonest, misleading, or misrepresenting. I have never intentionally done so." The real insult here, the paper says, is that Mr. Paul would expect voters to believe his half-baked, nutty explanations. The real insult is that he would expect us to believe he's not at fault and that this is the result of partisan opponents. But the biggest insult of all is that he would use a writer's or researcher's words, claim them as his own, and expect everyone to look away when he gets caught. The terrible hometown press that Rand Paul is getting right now might explain why the senator is kind of melting down over this issue. Now it has come to the point where he is threatening to quit and leave politics altogether unless people stop criticizing him over his plagiarism problems and reporting on them, presumably. Senator Paul told the New York Times, quote, "To tell you the truth, people can think what they want. I can go back to being a doctor anytime. If they're tired of me, I'll go back to being a doctor, and I'll be perfectly content." Senator Paul, who the Times described as drawn and clearly shaken during their interview with him, continued, quote, "What we are going to do from here forward, if it will make people leave me the hell alone, is we're going to do them like college papers. We're going to try to put out footnotes." Senator Paul followed up that exasperated, emotional, sweary interview with the Times yesterday with another one today with the National Review. Senator Paul is described by his interview at the NRO as, quote, "furious." And he says to his interviewer, quote, "It annoys the hell out of me. I feel like if I could just go to detention after school for a couple days, then everything would be okay. But do I have to be in detention for the rest of my career?" One thing that is maybe underappreciated about this stressful episode for Senator Paul is that it is happening for him at a key time in his career. Politico reported today that he recently met with both Rupert Murdoch, the chairman of News Corp, and Roger Ailes, the head of the Fox News Channel, obviously two of the kingmakers who you need to be on your side if you're a Republican running for president. For Republicans who are trying to make that kind of a run, this is the time when these guys are trying to establish themselves as viable candidates, as serious candidates. And in the middle of all of this, Rand Paul is all but breaking down in these interviews about these ongoing plagiarism revelations. Not only can he apparently not handle the rigors of the difficult workload of being a freshman senator, which was his excuse for plagiarizing an article for an op-ed, not only can he not handle the workload of being a senator, he apparently can't handle criticism of things he has done wrong. Plagiarism has forced other people out of political races in the past, like Joe Biden in the 80s. But in this case, Rand Paul says that he might not even make it to the race for president. He's now threatening to quit even being a senator right now because he cannot take the heat. He cannot take the criticism. Senator Paul is clearly under a lot of pressure right now. This is a key moment for him in his political future. But if this is the way that he handles pressure, that is probably a good thing to know about him now. It is probably better that we learn that fact about him now rather than sometime in the future.